All right, welcome back to another episode of the Lure Lab. I'm your host, Andrew Full, and joining me today is Adam Deacon and Bailey Egbrett. What's up, guys?
It's going, dude. Long day on the water. Happy to talk. We're keeping it rolling. We got home here. We're talking fishing some more.
I love it. What's up with you, Deacon, real fast? I know you were hunting, I think, right, this weekend?
Yeah, man, it's been the last like 3 weekends in a row. Been real busy fishing in Idaho tournament and then hunting the last 2 weekends. We chased some antelope around way further than we were expecting, and ended up having did end up shooting a doe antelope and packed it out really far out. So it was a blast and it was all good. But like, I'm pretty beat as well at this moment in time.
Yeah, I'd say you're probably more beat than Andy and I are after our day today. 18 miles chasing after some antelopes. Sounds pretty exhausting.
It's dumb. It's dumb is what it is. Like, and the worst part is we did 15.4 the day before that. So
yeah, the legs are weak and heavy.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was like, all right, we're gonna pack in heavy and pack out heavier. This is gonna be fun. So
brilliant. Brilliant.
But anyways,
earned it.
Yeah. Right. Well, let's get to the main topic of choice, right? We're talking drop shot hooks, specifically nose hooking for smallmouth. And we're going to talk about what makes the perfect drop shot hook, and we're going to talk about which hooks we like. So who wants to start?
I can fire off. Yeah. It's fresh in the mind after our day today, Andy.
Yeah.
And again, for folks, obviously this is Fierce Angler Podcast Network, so we talk about a bunch of different stuff across different brands. So if you want to see some behind the scenes stuff more in depth versus just tackle talk, go over to Biz from the Bass Boat and the Serious Angler shows, and you guys can hear all that there. But so today, what Andy and I were out on the lake, and what I was drop shotting with, and I'm sure there might be some repetitiveness between the three of us, but I feel like we have different reasoning amongst why we use these hooks. But today was the owner Mosquito Light. And this is a 2-aught. Let me see if I can get, there we go. Camera can focus on that. This is a 2-aught. I know Andy might differ on size. I like the 2-aught because just a little bit more of a gap. And I haven't had issues in terms of hookup ratio, in terms of bites. And it's just a little bit more room for wiggle room for when I'm fighting these fish and they're dogging. It's just kind of less surface area, more surface area for them to move around the hook. Whereas if it's less surface area, in my mind, if they move around much, it's a little bit easier for them to spit that hook. But also just the light is one where I'm rocking this when it's colder temperatures. Their mouths are harder and it's easier to penetrate. And in the summer.
One second, Bailey, one thing I want to not skip over before I forget. But you were saying the gap. Explain to folks, I guess, what the gap is there.
Yeah, so what your gap is if you look on your hook here, so let me get to try to focus again, where you see right here, this is the gap in your hook. That's how much space you have from the point to that main rod on your hook, that main stem, I should say. That's what your gap is. So you see a big difference between a 2 and a 2-aught, and that is your reasoning. It's just kind of more space you have for where that needle goes into that fish's mouth, and that is just kind of how much wiggle room that they can have as your hook's being, bending around their mouth as they're fighting the fish. But that being said, so again, the Mosquito Light is when it's colder temperatures, when you want something that's a little bit sharper, lighter, can get that hook pinned at longer distances. But in the summer months, when the water temps get warm, the fish get even more crazy than they are in the winter months. Something that they're going to beat the crap out of you, even if they're a 2.5 pounder. I like the Gamakatsu split shot drop shot. And that is just for the pure reason that there is way less flex in this hook than the Mosquito Light, where today I think I flexed out 3 Mosquito Light hooks. So it's kind of one of those things where this is going to be able to withstand that crazy summer smallmouth on crack, taking a beating type of deal. In my mind, they dull out a little faster than the Mosquito Lights.
Okay.
But I mean, they last you still like 20, 25 fish, and obviously you can sharpen them, but that's just kind of my reasoning for those 2 hooks.
I like it.
Those are great reasons. How about you, Deacon?
Yeah, one thing on the doling out, I think that is something that people need to pay more attention to with their hooks, and it's easier to see, right, when it's a big hook and a flipping hook or something. You can really kind of see that point and feel it. With drop shot hooks, I think that people don't always look super close and see if there's anything wrong with that hook. It could be something wrong from the factory. You want to kind of really look hard at your variables. And I think the other aspect too, something that I never knew being from where I'm at fishing and then going to your guys' country and fishing some of that northern stuff, your smallmouth compared to anywhere else in the country have such hard mouths. It is incredible. I mean, anywhere else in my experience, even same size 5-6 pounders in other places, like your smallmouth have such a tough mouth that I do think that thinness of hook. And I also saw many times where the tip would roll over from a fish, not from getting it stuck on a rock, anything else. So like that is something that is very important. And I think that viewers across the country, it differs a little bit from like where I'm at. My smallmouth will very rarely ever hurt the tip of a hook. They just don't get that tough of a mouth. And therefore, maybe that's why I go a little bigger in a lot of situations. But I like switch drop shot hooks all the time. And the one that I keep going back to is the same deal Bailey was talking about, but the Gamakatsu split shot drop shot hook. I like it in a size 1, which is slightly bigger than a 2, which is, I would say, probably one of the more common nose hooking drop shot smallmouth hooks is that 2 size. I like the 1 a little bit. And I think the main reasons for me, and I think another thing that needs to be clear for everybody too, is your setup, your rod, your reel, your line, all of that plays a big factor into which hooks that you like. And for me, the size 1 is perfect for what I like doing, which I rarely go below 8 pound when it comes to drop shotting, which is like, okay, a lot of guys will go down to 6, 7 pound. You know, you hear guys getting way low. I like 8 pound. I think that I have my drag set a little bit tighter than most guys do, and I like getting a good hook in them far out on maybe on a long cast, that kind of a thing. And so I use a little bit heavier hook. And like Bailey said, that Gamakatsu hook has very little flex to it. I'm not looking to have a ton of flex in that hook. Therefore, it is a little bit thicker. I think it's still very sticky sharp in that size 1. One other thing that I wanted to touch on, what I like in drop shot hooks when I'm looking at drop shot hooks in general. Again, the gap Bailey was describing is really important to me. And then I also like a little bit longer shank. So the shank of the hook here, I like that to be longer than like a traditional wacky rig hook that is very circular. I want there to be some length there. I think that gives you the ability to fight that fish and have that shank out of the fish's mouth to not grind its teeth around where your line is. So I think that's important to me. And I like having a big gap. And again, that size 1, from where this point connects to where this eye is, there's a gap there. And I think that that's important for your hookup ratio as well. So that's my drop shot hook everywhere I go. When it comes to nose hooking for smallmouth, it's going to be that size 1, again, a little bit bigger. And I'm running 8 pound and I use a medium light rod. And that's what I do drop shot.
I mean, so it's a great hook. I think me and Bailey have had a lot of arguments about the split shot drop shot hook, and it is the first hook that I ever drop shotted with. And I came to really dislike that hook because I would lose a lot of big smallmouth on it fishing on the Great Lakes a lot of times. So I have probably tried every single drop shot hook on the market. And if you want to know which ones are really bad not to buy, I can tell you every one of them. And I can tell you like the 3 that I would buy and use. And third would probably in a pinch be that split shot drop shot hook. Number 2 for me is a Mosquito Light, so I'm not going to talk about it. But I found, in my opinion, the best drop shot hook, which is very similar in gauge size, so wire gauge size to the split shot drop shot hook, but thin wire and super sharp like a Mosquito Light. And we're going straight overseas JDM market in a Ryugi fog shot. And there's really important. There's 2 important details to this hook that I really like. One, it's Teflon coated, so it penetrates fish super easily, so it gets in that super hard mouth. But also, like the gap that you guys are talking about is very important. It has a big gap to it. But also, the third most important least talked about aspect of a drop shot hook is hook point to line tie. But the split shot drop shot hook, why I don't like it, if you hold it up, the hook point runs almost directly to the line tie. So if you were to draw a line, it runs into the line tie.
Maybe it doesn't on the size 1, because that's like, to me, it's above it slightly.
Yes, that it is slightly above it. So in the 2, it runs right to the eye tie. But that's why I like that Ryugi fog shot. If I were to lay it on a piece of white paper and draw a line, it comes out. So I have almost a 1/4-inch gap between my line tie and the hook point in a straight line.
The 2 literally runs right.
It runs
above it, but
it runs
Straight
almost
to
right to the and
it's weird. Maybe that's why I didn't like the 2s, because I was having issues.
Yeah, I
compared to the
lost
1.
so many fish on the number 2s. And when I found when I went up in size, I would still hook them good, but I wouldn't hook them as good because it's such a thicker gauged wire hook.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind of bounce around. But this Ryugi, it will flex, but it's good for all water temperatures. But when the water gets really, really cold and I got to go down to like 5 or 6 pound and going way off my drag, that's when I'll go down to the Mosquito Light, because I feel like it's the best hooking hook for far distance and right underneath the boat, as long as your drag is loose.
So I have a theory as to why I still like the split shot drop shot. I've never had issues with it. And this is where Andy and I's arguments come in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the reason I like the 2 and the reason it still works for me is because I think, it sounds like, yeah, Adam, you like to jam your fish pretty good with the drop shot. Andy's the same way. Andy likes to give him a little bit of beans. Where I mean, you'll see it, and Andy and I, we filmed today, so people will see
Bailey's like a soft sweep.
Just super like reel in and lightly lift up. And I've never had issues with doing that with fish. And I think that's why the 2 works for me, because it gives that, being that tie, that angle that Andy was talking about, it gives that hook a chance to pin and then roll up, and then that's where it digs. Whereas if you jam them, I can see why that would pop out of their mouth. Maybe.
And I shouldn't say I don't jam them, but I think what I do, because I same kind of deal as what you're talking, Bailey. Mine might not be quite as light as that. I reel in and lean, like you're saying. I don't like pop them. But I think the difference is with 8 pound, I like my drag tighter. So I think that it's still just a harder movement overall. Even just doing that, there's no slip on my hook set, really. I don't feel any, like, when guys set the hook and their drag immediately goes like on the hook set, mine is not that way. Like, my drag is going to be going when that fish is fighting, but on my hook set, it's not really moving that much. Like, I don't know. It's different. I think, just like you're saying, different setups. I think though, I do hit them harder than most guys because my drag is so tight, is what I'm saying.
That's fair.
And that's where it comes down to, like, not every hook is perfect for every person. So, like, you have to find what you like. And this is a perfect example, right? All 3 of us really use a different hook for different situations. And it complements our fishing style. So we're just here to give you the options and tools and what we like, so that somebody else who's listening in can basically purchase this product and hopefully put more fish in the boat for them.
Yeah, I think that's huge, man. And I think that the biggest thing, what I love about, like, we are talking, even just talking the size difference between a 1 and a 2 is so little. Like, this is something that is so minute in the scale of things, right? Like, the next world record smallmouth is going to be caught on a rusty old, whatever, laser sharp hook, and it's just like, it's just hilarious that we get this detailed, but it's the way it goes, especially in tournament fishing and guiding, and when you're wanting to make sure everything is correct. But I love that we're getting this detailed into stuff, and I think it is dead on. Like, you keep trying things, because that's what's cool about it, is especially with smallmouth, a lot of times you can get in a situation where you're going to catch 20, 30, 40, 50 fish in a day. And when that like, try different hooks. Like, if you're catching them drop shotting, mess around a little bit sometime when you're practicing, and see what you like and what you don't like.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. Like, drop shot hooks, they might cost $5 a pack or $2.99. Buy when you shop at Omnia, right? buy every pack of drop shot hooks they have, buy one pack in the same size and try it out when you're on the water and a good bite and see which ones you hook more fish with and get in the boat. And then you can find out based on your rod, reel, and line setup, which we'll dive into in an episode later on. But you can find out what that perfect hook is for your presentation for you.
Yeah, this is one where you can get away with a lot of different things, but if you really want to get it perfect, it's going to take a lot of experimentation.
Yeah,
it's taken me
total evidence
8 years to find my favorite hook.
And one other quick tip, like to maybe send someone down a rabbit hole of doing that. One thing I would say, specifically when I went up north, the hook that rolled the tip more than any other hook for me was not the Gamakatsu split shot drop shot hook. This is made out of a different metal and it has a coating as well. But the Gamakatsu, what's the one?
G Finesse?
Yeah. The G Finesse hook I struggle with a lot when it comes to a drop shot and a thin wire hook. That like tinish type metal, whatever that is, when it is a hard mouthed fish, I bend that tip. So maybe stay away from those. That's just my thoughts. I like this one. Don't get discouraged if you get the Gamakatsu G Finesse ones and you're like, these things suck. These are the ones, the non G Finesse.
Yeah, it's something probably like, because I actually like those G Finesse hooks for a little bit, and then they changed something in them.
Oh, really?
And the metal in the inside got softer and the barb got smaller. And all of a sudden I went from like
I have such a small barb.
Sticking every fish and getting them in the boat to literally losing every fish I hooked. I'm like, these are the worst hooks I've ever used. Ooh, you get a friend.
Yeah, I have a needy pet.
So, all right, guys. Well, any other tidbits you want to add in here before we close it up?
No, I think obviously with these we mentioned though is setup for this is very imperative, and that's coming at a later episode because I'm sure that question is going to roll in is what kind of rods, reels, line we're using with this stuff. So stay tuned because that's going to come at a later date.
Yeah, absolutely. So for now, thanks everyone for tuning into this week's episode of the Lure Lab, where we discussed our favorite nose hook drop shot hooks for catching smallmouth. And as always, if you are tuned in via YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below of what your favorite drop shot hook is so we can try it out and tell you if we like it or don't. And then, hit the like button. If you're listening on MP3 like Apple or Spotify, please leave us a review because that greatly helps us be seen by more avid fishermen and viewers. And until next Saturday, make sure you guys look out for the next episode. And we are going to be talking about our favorite crankbaits for fall fishing. Oh, no.